Hi gays, welcome back again. Let's be real. Most people think they understand lesbian relationships. They assume it's just two women, more emotions, less drama. Or worse, they reduce it to something purely physical or even a fantasy. But here's the truth. Lesbian love and connection are some of the most misunderstood dynamics out there, and not just by straight people, but sometimes even within the LGBTQ+ community itself. So today we're breaking it all down, the myths, the reality, and what everyone, yes, everyone can learn from lesbian relationships about intimacy, communication, and emotional depth. Because this isn't just about sexuality, it's about connection. Most people grow up with a very narrow idea of how relationships are supposed to work. You've got gender roles, you've got expectations, you've got scripts that say who should lead, who should pursue, who should express emotions, and who should hold them back. And lesbian relationships, they don't always follow those scripts, which is exactly why they get misunderstood. One of the biggest myths is that lesbian relationships are either too emotional or too easy. Like somehow removing men from the equation magically solves everything. That's not just wrong, it's dismissive. Because every relationship, no matter who's in it, requires effort, communication, and emotional intelligence. Another myth? That lesbian intimacy is less real or less complex than heterosexual intimacy. And honestly, that idea says more about society's blind spots than it does about reality. Here's what most people don't talk about. When there are no predefined roles, both people have to show up consciously. There's no autopilot, no default leader, no assigned emotional caretaker. Everything becomes a conversation. Who plans? Who initiates? How do we handle conflict? What do we need from each other? And that can feel uncomfortable at first, because it forces you to look inward, to ask yourself questions like, what do I actually need? Am I communicating clearly? Do I even know my own boundaries? And here's the deeper truth. A lot of lesbian relationships place a strong focus on emotional intimacy. Not because women are magically better at feelings, but because there's often more space to explore them without judgment. Vulnerability isn't seen as weakness, it becomes the foundation. And when both people lean into that, connection stops being about control and starts being about understanding. Imagine this. You're in a relationship where you don't have to pretend you don't care, where you're not holding back a message just to seem less available, where you can say, hey, I missed you today, without overthinking it. Sounds simple, right? But in today's dating culture, that kind of honesty feels almost radical because we've been taught to play games. Wait before replying, don't double text, act like you have options. And all of that, it creates distance. In many lesbian relationships, those rules get questioned or completely dropped. Not perfectly, not always, but more intentionally. Another real moment, conflict. Instead of avoiding it or turning it into a power struggle, it becomes a conversation. I'm upset, but I want to understand you. That one sentence alone can change the entire direction of a relationship because it replaces ego with empathy, and that's rare. So what can you take from this? First, stop trying to follow a script that was never designed for your relationship. There is no universal rule book. What matters is what works for you, and the person you're with. Create your own rhythm, your own way of communicating, connecting, and showing up. Second, get comfortable with emotional honesty. Avoiding your feelings doesn't make you attractive. It makes you hard to connect with. Instead of shutting down or blaming, try expressing what's actually going on inside you. I felt hurt. I felt anxious. I need reassurance. Simple, clear, real. Third, respect boundaries without turning them into rejection. If someone asks for space, it doesn't mean they don't care. It means they're taking care of themselves. And a healthy relationship supports that. It doesn't punish it. Fourth, drop the performance. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You don't need to impress someone to keep them. Connection isn't built on how cool or unbothered you seem. It's built on how real you're willing to be. Let's talk about something very current. Digital communication, texting, social media, online presence. It all shapes your relationship now. And misunderstandings happen fast. Tone gets lost. Intent gets misread. Silence gets overanalyzed. So don't guess. If something feels off, ask. If you're confused, clarify. And please stop building entire stories in your head based on a seen notification. That's not communication, that's anxiety. And finally, stop keeping score. Who texted first? Who said I love you more? Who made more effort? That mindset turns connection into competition. Instead, ask, do we both feel valued? Because that's what actually matters. So here's the bottom line. Lesbian relationships aren't perfect. They're not easier. They're not immune to problems. But they often highlight something powerful. What happens when you remove rigid roles and actually choose how you connect? And that's the lesson. Not just for one group of people, but for everyone. Because at the end of the day, it's not about gender. It's about how you show up with honesty, with respect, with emotional awareness. So ask yourself this: am I being real in my relationships, or am I performing? Am I communicating or expecting people to read my mind? Because connection doesn't grow in games. It grows in clarity, in presence, in truth. If this shifted your perspective even a little, stick around. There's a lot more we need to talk about.